Hello friends, have a good time. We are at your service with Shabnameh. Many countries and many powers, now walking in the world, wherever they go, or trying to talk with new powers, or to repair the previous conversations, or somehow find a solution, for the newer literature in the world. We can give an example from France. Macron got up and talked to the Chinese. Then he came and said new things. Those around him, those who are in Europe, those who are in America, talked about it very strongly. Other countries in the same way. The things we are seeing show that the world seems to have accepted it, and some trends are changing. And new superpowers will be imposed on the world. I would like to ask you a question. Can China, America, Russia and several other countries be powers in the world at the same time? Probably, yes. Can the world have two powers at the same time? For example, if there are two superpowers, China and America, both of them want to exercise their power and behavior at the international level. Something like this happens. Think about it. When Americans think about this issue, many of them believe that the world, if we are going to go to the direction where the world will change. In such a situation, the world will not have the endurance and tolerance of America and China as two superpowers at the same time. It must choose one. They say, we must be so strong that in such a situation, if we have to resort to force, we can be victorious in the field. When I tell you that the future of the world will be very interesting, unpredictable, and in some cases scary, it is for this reason. Because many people have imaginative thoughts and very special thoughts in their minds. They think about making weapons, and things that will definitely amaze people to hear and review. We will move forward, with the help of God. We will examine a part of this story together in the coming days. In a part of this report, and in tonight's report, we would like to discuss the words of Henry Kissinger. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger will be 100 years old on the 5th of June. That is, they are probably interviewing him at the same time as our program, because he has played a special role in American foreign policy. It has reached this age and this point. They asked Kissinger questions about the war in Ukraine. In a part of the explanation, he said that, I believe the crisis in Ukraine is approaching its turning point. Now that China has joined the negotiations, it is expected that these negotiations will be concluded by the end of the year. How likely is it that they will talk to each other at the end of the year and enter into negotiations? I do not know. Really unpredictable. What we now understand about the story is that both sides are trying to change the scene of the battle as they want and as they like. In the same process, America and the West, in a special way, are trying to make the battlefield, Ukraine, more armed. There is a question. Will his neighbors be resilient? Will Europe be resilient? This is something we do not have an answer for. If we go further, this story will become clearer, it answered. We can come to the point that Kissinger's prediction about the future of the war in Ukraine was correct or not. However, right now, as we are talking, Poland is crying out. They gave messages to Zelensky. I have already told you about it in detail. And they wanted this war to end as soon as possible. Let's review the continuation of Kissinger's speech together. In the continuation of his speech, this person said that the cognitive change of the situation and the observation of developments led China to believe that neither Ukraine nor Russia are capable of fighting for an indefinite period of time. And Beijing's willingness to fulfill its role as a mediator in peace talks should be put to the test. He says, Sir, in a period of time, perceptions were that, now or NATO, will win this war, and can challenge the Russians in such a way that they fall short, they should retreat, and go to their nests, and don't talk about this anymore. And NATO can do whatever it wants. It should also advance, around the Russian border, and not enter into these discussions. Some others were of the opinion that no. Russia plays in this game, it razes Ukraine to the ground, it achieves its intended goals completely, 15%, 17%, 20%, which is nothing. It occupies the entire territory of Ukraine, and NATO can't do anything. He says, the understanding that is now in the minds of the Chinese is that both NATO and Russia are stuck, and they are looking for a way out. And of course, the more important point is that China must show somewhere, see if it can play a global role or not. If necessary, I will provide a platform for negotiations, even in an honorable matter, like this. Can I play a role or not? He says, China has come from here to enter and play a role in this matter. I want to tell you something. Before we go, and continue to review Kissinger's speech. See, the essence of his words is that he says, the battle scene has reached a dead end. Now we have to go to the direction where, probably, the point we reach is negotiation. My question is this. If a war comes to a stalemate in our region, will they go to negotiations? Why in the West, they went to negotiate? Why are they thinking about negotiations in the Ukraine issue now? Because the pressure has come to Europe. When the war starts in our region, if it reaches a dead end like Yemen, it means that Saudi Arabia can't do anything anymore. Pressure on the neighbors, pressure on the region, people being killed, children being killed, women and children being hungry. These things are not worth a damn for the world at all. It does not think about it at all. Not important. Why? Because it can manage it. It does not affect the situation in Europe. It does not affect the situation in the West. Because of this, he keeps it in the same position as long as he can. It's only their own issues that, if it comes to a dead end, they immediately go to think about it. Maybe it had nothing to do with the issue of Shabnameh tonight, but I really don't want to, when we are talking about these wars, not to mention the oppression of our own nations, and the people who are gathered together in West Asia. Let's check the continuation together. The former U.S. Foreign Minister, in the continuation of his speech, pointed out that, if the war in Ukraine does not end in Russia's favor, the world will face an unhappy Russia and Ukraine. Unhappy Ukraine and Russia, whose imposition on the world will definitely have special consequences for everyone, especially for the West. This person mentions one point in the continuation of his speech. This point is very important. For whom? For those who understand that America has declined. And we have to think for the post-American world. I emphasize this because now we have two groups in Iran. A group that says, these words are nonsense. Who is saying these things? Let's sit down and talk with America, let's solve the problem. They never answered why Ukraine, which stuck with America, and Saudi Arabia, which is close to America, finally regretted, and they are thinking of other behaviors. I explained these before, I will not go back to it. This is a group in our country. Another group says, you see, we hit America's nose, for example. We serviced its mouth. Did you enjoy this? It went into decline. Sir, this is not the issue at all. This is not the issue at all. To reach decline means get up and go to Indonesia, get up and go to Africa, get up and go to some point. Go find 4 new friends. The model of the world is changing. Go send your sailors to travel the whole world. We may go to a direction where the rules of everything will change at the level of the seas. It means that the order should be changed in such a way that in some places you see the power of others. We have to think about it now. Okay. Unfortunately, I did not see anyone holding a meeting in Iran. Or collect our elites. From Zabakalam to so and so. Bring these people who talk about politics and sit around a table and say if it was meant to be. Sir, assume 0.5%. If there was to be no America tomorrow, there would be a different order in the world. What should our model of behavior be? Who are the superpowers? Who are the emerging powers? What are we going to do about these? Unfortunately, a meeting in Iran regarding this issue. We didn't have a seat where they could sit and talk about it, we didn't have a meeting. And this is very unfortunate. Kissinger refers to the same point here. He says, we are moving towards a world where we will see how many superpowers exist. He says, in such a situation, we should think about whether the concepts of strategic role are compatible with each other in terms of 2 superpowers, or not. If these concepts are not compatible, the discussion of force will be raised. Sir, let me give an example and tell you. Can 2 people be the superpower of the world at the same time or not? They must exercise power and conduct. Laws must be made. Decisions must be made. Whether in the economic field, whether in the political field or in other fields. I want to make it simple for you. Now you have a world economic order. Suppose there is a parallel order. These 2 will challenge each other. Who is going to solve this dispute between them? A number of countries are following it. And a series of countries from this. A series of countries, probably common. What will happen in the political field? What is the economy? What is its military? What are the other cases? He says, we should go and check, see if these 2 superpowers can be on the planet at the same time or not. If they can't, force will have the last word there. What does it mean? It means that there will be no other option, except that one of them erases and removes the other. Let's go and read the rest. He says, I believed this in the past and I still believe that yes. It is possible. But the realization of this possibility is not guaranteed. He says, if we check. Yes, One day we may reach a place where the world has two superpowers. But, if we get there, what will the state of the world look like? He says, there are many ambiguities here that cannot be answered clearly. That's why we come to the option that they should resort to force. That one sidelines the other. Let's read the rest of it together. Although this part is short, it might be a bit dumb, I will explain it to you in detail. He says, there is a possibility. That is not possible, and therefore, we must be strong enough militarily. In order to bear the consequences of not having this possibility, the possibility of simultaneous emergence of China and America in the world. I will make it simple for you. He says, sir, it is possible that we will enter a world that has two superpowers, China and America. But let's get to the point where both of them can get along. Then they will understand that no. It is not possible for them to get along. If it doesn't exist, we will reach the option I said, the option of force. How should we solve it? He says, the only way that exists is that we have made ourselves so strong that if we reach this point, we said that one must remove the other. He says, we should be the one who deletes that one. Not China, which will come to remove us and challenge us. I have to tell you two things. The two sides that are being talked about that they might become powerful in the world. Everyone is oblivious to one point. And that is the internal situation of their country. The internal situation of their country. Which can have special effects on our view of the future of the world. I need to tell you something about this issue. Both in the talks of the former head of St. Com, in the talks of Kissinger, and in the talks of others, we hear things with different literature. The person who was present in our area. He says, after the war in Ukraine, we should try to make ourselves as strong as possible in the field of conventional weapons. Conventional weapons. And he says, abandon the atomic bomb and such. We must be strong in the field of conventional weapons. Here this person says, if we reach such a world, we must become stronger, so that we are not challenged. We also examine the performance of America, in the area of selling some products, which can help the Eastern countries, including China, become strong. They have imposed embargoes, they have imposed restrictions. That is, it is going in the same direction in performance. He is forming a defense for himself and thinks that, so that they can't become powerful. On the other hand, in the field of artificial intelligence, which will change the developments in the world, they are working hard. I gave you the report about the Pentagon. For 3 hours, all the media were talking about the explosion in front of the Pentagon. 3 hours later, the Pentagon said, no news, we are alive, and we are fine. Then, we checked, we saw that it was artificial intelligence. They deceived the nation. This is a small sample of it. It can play with everything in this field. It's not just the media. Just for example, virtual influence is not news. It can play with other domains in a terrible way. Our world will become a complex world. The world will become strange. And in such a world, the person who has not thought about his own power, and the person who does not have a plan to find new friends, will be in trouble. I hope that Iran is doing things in this field. My sentence turned out like that, right? I hope so. I hope that Iran is making some moves. Some of the behaviors I look at show, yes. There are efforts. In the field of being able to find countries, America has understood very accurately. Especially Iran's behavior in Africa. Let me tell you something interesting. I didn't get a chance to mention Africa in my report. They went and investigated in Africa and the Americas. Then they say that Iran's thinking is expanding in a series of places in a strange way, and this is Lebanon's Hezbollah. Pay attention, this is Lebanon's Hezbollah. A bunch of people left there, they are developing. Then his argument is this, he says, this is Iran itself. They say, it is true that these are Lebanese, for example, there are other things. But it is Iran itself, and it is giving them its development. Look, he has gone to investigate some things about Iran, which are strange to them. And he was able to understand a small part correctly. Yes, we have to admit that he got the part right. Iran is doing special things that soon many people will be shocked to hear about it and to face it. I think that's enough. I don't have any other points. If you have any points, please send them in the form of a message. It will help this report to be more complete with your message. Dear friends, I am very sincere, I have a lot of devotion, have a good time.